Welcome to another episode of the Aiming Five Hole podcast with Phil and Ryan. Well, Ryan, we've had an interesting week and a great day for the Great Eight.
Oh, did something happen today? I wasn't
Oh,
aware.
I think something happened today. Wow, I
Well,
got to
like,
see it live. I don't know if you did, but I was happened to be watching the game today, and I looked up. I was actually about to type a message to you on something else, and I looked up while they were on the power play, and he scored the goal.
well, it was nice to see him. I mean, I guess in a perfect world, you would have like flipped the record tying and record breaking goal, right? Like a wrist shot from the slot, from the high slot versus the one timer from his spot. But look,
Well, he was
they were
almost
both
like in his
beautiful
spot. He was
goals.
very close to his spot. It wasn't
Yeah.
a slap shot. He had to drag it and quick wrist shot because the pass was a little behind him. It was meant to be a one-timer. It wasn't,
Yeah. But
but
in any event, it was a beautiful goal. It wasn't a cheapie. It wasn't an empty net goal. He said he didn't want to get it on an empty net goal. He broke the record in exactly the same number of games that Gretzky
Gretzky,
set the record.
yep.
Just
Well, it's
just
even,
mind blowing.
and it's more actually interesting than that. Howe had the record for 31 years plus so many days. Gretzky had it 31 years plus so many days. Now, I think there are a number of days in between, not the same amount of days, but 31 plus years for each of them. Like that's
Yeah,
incredible.
that is bonkers.
Yeah, but
That
what a
is
great,
bonkers.
great for hockey, the show, for Ovi to do this. Where's the limits for him? He's only four goals. Um, I think four goals, no, two goals back of Howe for the most goals for the 39-year-old plus player in the league. Howe has
It's ridiculous.
44, and now Ovi has 42. He's going to break that one this year as well. And the other interesting point about his number of goals is that he and Gretzky, he only had nine more empty net goals than Gretzky did in over
Yeah,
that stretch of 1,400 and some odd games. Like that's
it's an
incredible that
absolutely
they're that
amazing.
close.
Yeah, it's an amazing performance, an amazing record. And the thing that blows my mind even more is, look, he doesn't have the assists that Gretzky did, obviously, and
Nobody will.
he's always going to take criticism. As you know, you can't say he's the greatest player ever because of Gretzky's
No.
assists and because he didn't play a whole lot of D. Although I don't remember Gretzky playing a whole lot of D. But that said, the guy's got the most goals in history. He's on track, if he keeps going, to have the most hits in NHL history.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. And
that
it's
is a complete player.
and in this era to score that many goals, way more difficult than, and no disrespect, I think Gretzky has said this as well. And I've seen a lot of interviews with Wayne Gretzky. He has said it. Like in this era of hockey that Ovechkin has played since Gretzky has retired, way harder to score um, goals at that pace is just
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Well,
And
just
no
the
one's going
goalie
to break.
equipment.
Yeah, and we also just said, and tight checking and tight bigger players, harder to do offense. The NHL's done a great job of opening up the offense over the years, but still nowhere near
It's not
open
like it was in the
dragon
80s.
hockey it was back in the day. Like the only other point or goal per game guy that you can think about is that we would have loved to have seen Mario be healthier for more games because Mario played less than 1,000 games and his goal per game was higher than Gretzky
Yeah.
and Ovechkin. He probably would have gotten there if he stayed healthy and had the longevity that Gretzky did and the longevity that Ovechkin did. We said it 31 years ago, no one was going to break this record. I think we're saying that again, that no one is going to break this record. Like this
It's
is pretty phenomenal. And no one's
especially because
ever
he's
going to
still
break
going.
Gretzky's assist record. Oh yeah, he's going to break 900 easy.
Oh,
Um,
for nine, he might end up with 950 before all is
yeah, yeah,
done. He's not. I
absolutely.
don't haven't heard him say anything about quitting after
No,
this season.
no,
So
no, no. You know what? And I was thinking about this beforehand. The only way he retires this year, the only way he retires after this year, is if they win the Stanley Cup. If Washington wins the Stanley Cup, it actually wouldn't be a bad idea for him at 39 to say, I broke the record. I got my second cup. I'm going out on a double high note.
look, I could see the
He
logic in
won't do
doing
it, but
that.
that's logical. Would be
Yeah, like
logical.
I can see the logic in doing that, but he just looks like he's having too much fun to quit.
Oh,
Frankly, yeah. Let's
why
just
not?
say that he has more fun at his job than most people
Absolutely. No question. And it's just it's a great thing for the game at the right time. The game needed something to talk about. and it's just been an amazing. And we said this before, not to get off of Ovi because it was a great, but it was actually a bad couple of weeks for record holders and
Yeah,
Gretzky
a
in
lot of things
particular,
went down.
because the other record of Gretzky's that got broken this year was by Crosby, the other phenomenal player of this era. He has now broken Wayne Gretzky's record for averaging a point per game over the season. For Gretzky only had 19 seasons of point per game seasons.
Crosby did it for 20.
Crosby's done it for 20,
That's insane.
which is just, again, talk about consistency over a 20-year career for Crosby, Gretzky, Ovechkin. You know what? People, I'm surprised it hasn't come out in the last few days and no one wants to wipe on this. Austin Matthews right now is on a pace to break that record, meaning Gretzky's record, but he's going to have that type of longevity that
Which record?
Oven, sorry, the goal scoring record. If you look at Matthews'
He's on track
goal,
to have more than
he's on, yeah,
894.
but he's not going to have that kind of longevity and that consistency. And I'm sure if you looked back at Gretzky at the same point that Matthews in his career and Ovechkin, they both were on track to break the records at that time. But it's the
Yeah.
longevity that's just so hard to do, and the consistency of every year
It's
playing
just
that. And we're seeing
it's
that
so
Matthews
impressive.
isn't having it this year. So,
Yeah. Well, the funny
um,
thing is Matthews takes such careful care of himself.
yeah.
He's super attuned to the nutrition and all of that. And he's clearly playing hurt now. He's not himself.
You
Alex
got to
Ovechkin
imagine.
has a dad bod, cracks Bud Lights after the game. Like he's playing like it's the 70s.
Yeah, it's amazing.
God love him.
Absolutely. And he's, you know what, you said it earlier. He looks like he's having the time of his life, which is great. And it's
Yeah.
just awesome. The other record that got broke, there was two other records that got broken this week. Your boy, Lane
Lane
Hudson in Montreal has broken the long-standing rookie defense assist
points.
record, and he's
Yeah.
not done yet. It's assist record of 50. He's got to 57. I don't know if he had one today.
He
But
had
50,
one. He had a beautiful pass to
but
line eight today.
58 now, and Chelios had 55. So that's a long-standing record. The other one that got broken this year is Patrick Kane is now has the most 20 goal seasons by a U.S. born player. So there's been a number of records, a good year for the NHL in terms of
Absolutely.
uh,
Before
of,
we
of
leave the records, though,
celebrations.
before we leave the records, I want to point out something I said to you earlier today that cracked me up. And I would love to say I apologize to all our Buffalo Sabres fans, but I don't know if any of them are Buffalo Sabres fans. But if any of you are, this one's for you. The last time the Buffalo Sabres made the playoffs, Alex Ovechkin was 594 goals away from breaking the record. Congratulations.
Just incredible. That's how long Buffalo, and they're going to go one more season by missing the playoffs.
Yep. It's a
How bad is
disaster.
that? Just a
It's a total
disaster in
disaster.
Buffalo, unfortunately. And I
Yeah.
picked them to make the playoffs this
Yeah,
year.
right?
So,
All right. So
how bad is that?
back to our
Well,
regularly
well,
scheduled
well,
programming.
let's talk. Like, I know we normally talk about the Leafs and the Habs, but let's do it in the context to that point we're just talking about the
Yep.
playoff. The playoff races. We said last Sunday, oh, some of the races they're just locked
It's a
down.
little
Doesn't look like
boring.
the
Yeah,
Jets
like the
can get
West is the
caught.
boring and the
Boring. What a difference a week makes. Like, holy cow. The wild card race in the East, your Habs, we will talk about
are
them now, are looking good. Had
they're
an
in the pole
amazing
position.
week beating the Panthers twice.
Didn't see
um,
that coming.
no, and then a good win today. They're now 6 points up with 6 points up on the Rangers and the Detroit Red Wings. Both those teams have a game in hand,
Game
but
in
still
hand.
they're looking good, and they're looking like they're pushing for the playoffs now, and they're playing great hockey, which is good
They
for you.
they're playing good hockey. They're not playing great hockey. I've watched the last few games, and I read some article about them where they were talking about when they're playing well. Martin St. Louis says when they're playing well, they don't make a lot of hope plays. They make a lot of safe and solid plays. I've been seeing a lot of hope plays the last few games. Patrick Line, he scored a beautiful wrister on a beautiful wrister tonight, is making a ton of hope passes and turning the puck over on every single one of them. Now, I'll give him points for back checking. I give him points for digging in the corners to get pucks free, but he's losing a lot of those battles, first of
Yeah.
all. And second of all, when he's winning them, he's passing it to the wrong team. Like, I, I'm having a lot of trouble with him right now, which is a shame because, like,
Well, we talked about this
he's
at the
such a
beginning of the
beautiful shooter.
season. We talked about this at the beginning of the season. This season could have gone one of two ways. The way that it has gone, where he came out firing on all cylinders. The fans got behind him, and he did great. We all know there's a second Lane, and that Lane is a little lazy and a little soft at times. And that Laney's showing up. Lane
Line A.
is showing up right
Line
now.
A.
Now, at least he's got the fans behind him because if he had started out this way at the
Well, he's
beginning,
scoring goals.
the fans would have just skewered him. So he does need to fix it before the playoffs. He's
Yeah.
still scoring, but he needs to fix it before the
Yeah.
playoffs.
I do think the effort is there. I just think it's with him, it's he's not that fast.
No.
And the rest of this team is pretty quick, so it shows. And
But
secondly,
he's supposed to
he's just
stand there and just take one timers and score goals. That's what he's supposed
yeah,
to.
but he's just prone to brain cramps, especially in the neutral zone. Like just a lot of brain cramps, and it's
Yeah, I
now
call
they
that
don't
laziness.
often
I call it
you
laziness.
you call it laziness. I just call it like just dumb. Um, because he
Well, we all
skates
got our
hard.
ways.
He's not
Yeah,
going very
yeah,
quickly, but
no,
he's like, his head's down.
yeah,
He's going when he can. He's not Lane Hudson, who's just
yeah.
like flying back on back checks. But there's been a little bit of that from other players too. I've noticed Yoel Armia has made a lot of hope passes. As fantastic as he is playing, Lane Hudson has been guilty of two or three just hope passes that have led to a couple of dangerous situations in the
Yeah.
last three games. He's I think if he has one skill to work on in the offseason, it's handling bouncing pucks coming to him at the blue line. Like he's let a lot of those skid by him, and
Yeah.
thankfully he's so quick he pivots and he doesn't lose the race to the
Mhm.
puck, but it does shut down an offensive
Yeah.
zone control
Yeah.
period, and so
Well,
it,
look, they squeaked one out tonight and they got badly outshot.
yeah, but like I
Panthers are
never
good.
thought I
Preds are
never
bad.
thought I never thought Nashville looked that dangerous on most of those
No.
shots. They had a lot of power plays where they kept feeding it to Stamkos, and he was pumping pucks at Dobesh, right, left, and center, and Dobesh was giving up a ton of rebounds too. Like a better team would have capitalized on
Yeah.
second chances. Nashville did not do that. So
Yeah, but at all in all, you got to be pleased by the week that they had because we talked about it last Sunday that the four teams, five teams, them, both the New York teams, Detroit and Columbus were sort of limping their way towards the end of the season, and they turned the week around by beating Florida twice,
they've won
which
five in a
is
row.
incredible. Yep,
Well, yeah,
which is
you can't call it
incredible.
a turtle race anymore. The
Yeah,
Canadians
yeah.
have the Canadians
Well,
have stepped it up.
while we're in the East for a second, there's two other things to talk about before we get to the Leafs and the Atlantic. Let's talk for a second about the Rangers because there were some interesting stats that came out today about the Rangers. If you looked at their top five players,
You
how
mean
far
other than the fact that they lost to a rival team in a must-win game for nothing?
for nothing? Well,
Like that
but
tells you everything you need to know about
absolutely,
the
but
Rangers.
I sent you a stat the other day. They have 0 wins this year when they've got a deficit of 2 goals. 0 wins, zero
At
comeback
any point in the
wins.
game.
At any point in the game, they've had a 2 point deficit. They have not come back and won. Um,
That's
they've
pretty bad.
there are 2 for 42 in their last. They're 2 for 42 in their last 42 playoff power plays.
Power plays.
That's terrible.
Well, that's
They
their whole story, right?
well, but you
Right
look
there
at
in a
their
nutshell.
yeah, you look at their top five players. Panarin last year 120 points. This year 82. Krocek, 77 this year, 52. Streeter, 25 this year, 75 last year. Fox, 73, 56 to 73. Zibanejad, last year, 72 points this year, 51. They are so far off where they were playing last year. It isn't funny. And they're putting a
Well, it's
lot of pressure on the goaltending.
and the power play is a big chunk of that, right? Because they were an average 5-on-5 team last year,
Yeah.
and they had one of the best power plays in the league. Now they're below average on 5-on-5, and their power play is miserable.
Yeah. Just crazy. Just crazy. But then you look at, the rest of like the Metropolitan is done. No one's catching Washington. It looks though as though Carolina and the Devils are on a collision course for first round. But let's flip from last week where the Leafs were in third place in the Atlantic. Florida was winning. Florida has gone into a complete tailspin because they've got everybody out of the lineup. The Leafs have beat them once. Habs have beat them twice. There are three losses in a row. No, look how bad they without. They've got in against the Leafs in the first game and the first two games against Montreal. They didn't have Kachuk. They didn't have their captain, and they didn't have the Swede Aaron Ekblad on defense.
Sweet.
I'm
Well,
never living you. I'm never gonna let you live that one down,
who is the captain of that team?
huh? That's your
Who is the
Barkov.
captain?
Barkov
Oh,
is the
Barkov. Yeah. Well, no, Barkov played against Montreal.
no. He
He
but he
left
left
for about
that
half a
game. He
period.
left the first game halfway through, and then he did not play the second one.
Yeah, he did.
No, well, he left one of them halfway through. Maybe it was the second one, but he left
I
one of
think it
them
was the
halfway
second
through.
game he left halfway through, but yeah, and
And he wasn't there against the Leafs, and he wasn't there today.
yeah.
He's missed. And then today, look at the guys they had missing from their lineup today. I sent you this
No, they
note.
played an AHL team. They played in an AHL team.
Kulikov was out, Barkov was out, Reinhardt, Bennett, Forsling, Strom, and the Swede Aaron Ekblad. I told you I'm not letting you let that one down. I got pronunciation down. You got the Swede.
I got
Um,
I got nationality problems.
but that's just if they can't get healthy before the playoffs, they're in trouble. Now, some of this is probably going, let's rest. Now, do you think they're only now 2 points up on the Senators? They are in danger of
And they
going
played the same
to
number of games.
they are exactly the same amount of games. They're only 2 points up on. They could fall back easily to the number one wild card spot and end up playing the Leafs or the Lightning in the first round.
Hmm,
And I'm not
interesting.
sure if they get healthy. I'm not sure I want the Leafs playing them. I still stay.
Well,
I'd like to see the
They
Leafs
get Ekblad
play.
back
Yeah,
because of the suspension will be
Barkov will
over.
be back. The only one that likely won't be back,
It's
maybe not be
Kachuk.
back, is the question mark.
Yeah.
Everybody else is probably a little bit more
And then
motivated.
Bob, and then the big question is, will Bob be playoff Bob?
Yeah, exactly. But again, I don't think I want to take that chance. Like, and I've said I don't necessarily want the Leafs playing the Senators, who have lost two, three
Well, that was
times
going to be my
either.
next question. If you had to choose between the Panthers and the Senators, who would you take?
It's a toss up. I'd actually take the Panthers because we've actually played the Panthers pretty well this year. We've given them tough games. We've only won one. We have one more left this coming week. So we've lost two, won one. We have four against them this year. So um, I'd rather see them play Florida right now. We've looked bad against Ottawa, bad, and I think it's just the style of play. So, but the Leafs have looked good the last week. Again, we've had four in a row. Again, we've got some secondary scoring. The Gold Stolharts looks like he's taken over the net. He's played two in a row. He'll likely play. He'll obviously play one of the two because we have back-to-back Florida and Tampa Bay this week before we
I
play
didn't realize how
York Canadians
feisty
next
the
day.
Leafs were this season.
Yeah,
In
I
the
think
sense,
it's helped.
they've had more like this was like a Kevin Bieksa thing on sports that this week. It's like they've had more players get in fights this season than any other team in the NHL.
I didn't hear that stat. That's interesting.
Good for them.
That's good. I think, but that's the
Stand up for each
Berube.
other.
We've talked about this is the Berube style hockey. Our old buddy Ron saying, "Oh, it's boring watching them." That is the style that Berube wants them to play, and when they're playing that style, they're winning. When they're trying
Yep.
to play the bandwagon fire hockey that they played the last few years, they're terrible. But they've got to play that defensive 5 unit man hockey, and I've been saying it all year. When they're playing Berube style hockey, they're dangerous, and they got the good goaltending. They could be dangerous in the playoffs. They need Matthews to start playing better, need him to start scoring. Nyes is already playing playoff style hockey. They need him to keep going.
He's
They
fun to
need
watch, isn't he?
Nylander, yeah, and Tavares has found the fountain of youth in the last since the Four Nations. He's 15 goals, 25 points, 11 even strength goals, and the Leafs are 13-5-2, not including last night. So they're now
No, the
14-5
Leafs
and 2.
are, and
So
Willie's got an outside shot at 50.
Ovechkin has an outside shot at 50
I
this
know that's
year. It's
bonkers.
crazy.
It's just
So,
bonkers.
but no, but that, wow. So the whole East is being thrown on its ear, and there could be so much more change in this next week is going to be wild in terms of the
Yeah.
change. let's switch over to the West
to the
because
West, because the West is so interesting to me because Dallas made its moves, and then they played okay for the first week or two, and everybody was like, "All right, maybe their moves didn't." And then they went on this tear, and now they're on the verge of catching Winnipeg. And this is the last thing that Winnipeg wants,
yeah,
right? Like nobody wants Colorado at this point.
no, no,
First round.
but also here's the problem is that to your point, Dallas went on that string of I think 8 wins in a row or something, and then they lost in OT today, and they lost on Saturday. The problem is the Jets didn't take advantage of either of those two and lost their
Yeah.
last game, so they could have gotten some strength. But there now there's only 3 points between the two of them. That race is. We thought a week ago that race was over.
Yeah.
And because of the Dallas streak that you talked about, this thing is tight again. And again, Winnipeg needs to get that
Number one seed.
number one seed. However, it does come at a price. You're going to have to play likely St. Louis. Um, the
No, they won't.
Blues,
No, you're
but
gonna have to play Minnesota. St. Louis is already past Minnesota.
yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So they're
So the
so
number one seed will play the eighth,
right.
which
Sorry, I
will either be
apologize. You're right,
Minnesota or
You're
Calgary.
right. You're right. Right. So that's actually not a bad thing. So my apologies. You're right. I'm
Yeah.
thinking the Jets were the number two in the race, but they're whoever wins that division is going to be number one. But then
Right.
you look at the Pacific, and we thought no one's catching the Knights. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, the Kings go on a little bit of a streak here, and they're now only 3 points back of the
What do they
Knights.
want to catch the Knights? Do you want to play Edmonton or do you want to play St. Louis?
I would agree with you, but who knows? Like Edmonton's probably begging to play the Knights compared to playing the Kings and having to play the Kings on the road where the Kings are, 29-4-4 at home.
Yes.
So that the only race that is likely over in the West is the fact that Minnesota and St. Louis are going to be the two wild card teams. I don't think
Well, Calgary
Calgary.
still has 2 games in hand on
Yeah,
Minnesota. I
I
don't
don't
see it
see it.
happening,
Yeah,
but
I just don't see it happening. But we said that last week, and look at the kerfuffle we got going on now
yes.
with these races. It's going to be so interesting. These playoff matches are going to be so interesting to see what happens. Um,
I'm gonna be a dead man in my house for these playoffs because every series is gonna be so much fun to watch. I'm gonna be watching 4 hours of hockey every night.
my
Every
wife
single
hates the first 2 rounds of the playoffs because I sit like to your point, I sit on the couch and watch hockey from 7 to 1 o'clock in the morning. I just it's just so much good. I have my phone going, a computer going, the TV going. It's
dear
just
listener, we'd love to say this is for your benefit, but we'd be doing it anyway.
absolutely. No, it's just the first round of the playoffs, is it's actually more fun than the Stanley Cup final because there's so much good hockey. The teams relatively to the final are fresher. They're all going gung ho. What time you get to the final? These guys are so beat up. It's still the hardest trophy in sports to win. I don't care what anybody says about the NFL. This is way harder trophy to win than that. Just the way these guys beat each other up in the first 2 or 3 rounds is just
You gotta
crazy.
win 3, maybe 4 games to win the Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
yeah, it's crazy.
This is 16 of the hardest, most physical tests you have to come, and
It's not even
it's
close.
possible you could possibly go, 7 games, 7 games, 7 games, 7 games to win it.
Yeah,
And
no, nowhere
that's
close. No
it's
close.
crazy.
Now, I don't. Before we go, I don't know how much time. How's our timing going? Because
We
you're.
did we got a few minutes.
So
Let's
let's
cover what you want.
we have to talk for our Canadian fans in the audience. We got to talk about something that I think has surprised both of us last
The
week.
Rogers deal.
Is the Rogers
Yes.
Sports and Entertainment announced renewing their NHL deal in Canada for 12 more years at 2x of the price they were paying before, which is absolutely insane.
Well, that's the control premium, right?
Yeah, it's the control because yeah, let's put that aside for a second. I have long predicted, and we talked about this even at the beginning of the season. I fully expected, and I was wrong, sort of, that the NHL, in order to get that premium of a price, was going to have to split this thing up and have probably Bell and Rogers share the package, and then probably Amazon or some other streaming service come in and own the digital and the out of town packages, out of local coverage packages, because that's what real value is. In that, in order to get that price, and lo and behold, to your point, Rogers said, mm-mm, we want the control, we'll buy it all, and then we're going to sublicense it. However, so that's why I say I'm sort of wrong, because you got to believe that we all know that they did the deal this year with Amazon to sell off Monday nights. You got to believe there's a similar package, if not more, to Amazon for this next
Well,
deal.
it depends. Like, do you really want to get Amazon that deep into it? Like
Or
it's
or they've done they've done a deal with Bell, and Bell is buying a package from them, and maybe because Bell has a streaming service, Bell is paying a premium for that. So that could happen. And by the way, that'll get announced, I'm sure, in the coming weeks. Rogers wants the, hey, look at us, we own hockey, but they wanted the control. And we all know that the NHL doesn't allow this to happen without their okay. There's no way
true.
Bettman allows Rogers full autonomy to go do a sublicense deal. They've got their hands in this pot as well. So it's going to be interesting to see, did they do a deal with Amazon? Did Bell go, hold on a second, we're not getting shut out here. We want a piece of this. And did they get a piece of national? Did they get a piece of digital? What did they get? By the way, there'll be a French deal as well somewhere.
Yeah, there'll be a
Quebec
French
or
deal,
someone else
and
will be a French deal
yeah,
as well. So
and
2x seems like a lot, and it still is a lot as far as I'm concerned in today's economics. But it was a premium to keep, it was a premium for a reason. We don't know what that reason was for yet. Yes, it was for control, but it was a reason to control for what,
yeah.
right?
Well, Bell is going to pay through the nose for the regional games. They have to have the regional games.
But that's not part of this. Regional deals are done separately, and regional deals are done with the teams directly. This
They
was the
are
national. Yes,
okay.
you're not getting me again like you got me last week. I know this one.
This one, okay.
The
I'm
regional
going to just start
deals are
questioning you.
done directly with the teams. Yes, the league gets involved, but it has nothing to do with the national package. The national
Okay.
package is each team puts a pool of games into the national
So
package,
Rogers
plus
does
all
not
the
get
out of
money
market.
from Bell for those games.
Sorry? No,
Rogers gets no. Okay, so
no,
that wow, so that money
no,
that they spent is
no,
even bigger
no, no.
than I thought.
So again, so that's what I'm saying is that who is Rogers partnering with on this deal?
Yeah.
And is it Amazon maybe going to keep their Mondays? And then is Bell getting something? Is Bell getting
No, well,
the because
Amazon
remember
better
as
get its
part
Mondays.
but as part of this package, what Rogers also controls is all the digital streaming out of market games.
Right.
So if you want to watch the Leafs in your Vancouver, you've got to buy the out of market package. That is bought. That's
Right.
part of the national package that Rogers bought. They
Right.
bought
Sort of like what
all.
ESPN has here.
Yes. So did Bell do because Rogers doesn't have a streaming service that is up to snuff to be able to do this, and I would say the out of town package, the NHL Center Ice package in Canada was diluted. You also have read that announcement. They said you're going to get to see more national games than you've seen before, which means they're going to take more of their what they call regional games national. So they pay twice. They pay the NHL for the game, and then they pay the regional price and to be able to take a team national.
Right.
So you're going to see more of that. But who did they do their deal with? We'll find out, I'm sure, in the coming weeks and months that they have done something. They wouldn't have paid that premium without something in their pocket to
If they
offset it.
didn't know that they were going to get a chunk of it back.
Yeah.
Well,
But
look,
it's
I hope they
precedent.
do an expanded deal with Amazon because I can't wait to see more of Blake Bolden and Mark Messier boring the living daylights out of me.
She's just, you know what? She's very smart and she's got a good presence, but there's two things wrong with that. She's not ready to carry the weight. And that's set. Get out of the rink with
I
the
know with these like
dumbasses
slack-jawed
behind you
morons
drinking
behind.
beers, going, "Hey, mom, I'm here." Who cares? If you're gonna go into the studio, have a real studio show instead of that crap in the rink because you think, "Oh, we're there in the rink." Who cares? You're watching guys drinking beers with their kids, going, "Hi, mom. Hi, dad." Just,
Yeah,
just so
it's
bad.
it, it's it's a shame. It's in a terrible place. Messier is not great. Blake Bolden might become very good at some point. Just her personality does not come through
Well,
at all.
she's not strong enough yet to
She
carry
doesn't
the
look
weight of
comfortable.
a one person analyst. She needs someone to bounce things off of, someone to lead her, someone to feed it to her. It's just not good. You need another strong person there, and Mess isn't interesting enough and good enough at talking to bring that out of her. You need
No.
you,
Well,
you
look,
need
it
someone
could be
like a
worse.
Bissonnette. You could be something a Bissonnette to sort of liven it up a little bit and have some
Well,
fun.
it could be worse. It could be worse. It could be Messier and Chelios together.
Oh, or it could be PK Subban and Chelios or PK and anybody. So, oh no, it's just terrible. But you know what? Huge deal for the NHL. Um, eh, we'll see what happens. But what a week of hockey we got coming. What a
What
next
what a
two
week it
weeks of
was, and what a
hockey.
week it will be. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
All
So
right.
I think we've done all we could this week. I think we've
Yeah, we covered
had some
everything we
fun.
could.
Excellent. Well, you go enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will get back at this next week when we'll have some more fun, and we'll
All
see what
right,
the
bud.
playoff races have for us.
Awesome.
All right. Talk to you soon, man. Have a good night.
Yes, sir. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.